Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live from our studios here at Kukumlemle's Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we're live on Love 99.5 FM in over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Gaskia FM in Techiman, Kekeli Radio in Ho, KTU Radio in Kufuria, and A1 Radio in Bogotanga. For our global audience, please download the My Joy Online app from Play Store and App Store to listen live around the world. In this edition, police investigate circumstances surrounding the death of a 3-year-old boy whose body was found in a private vehicle inside the premises of the St. Peter's Cathedral at Roman Hill in Kumasi.
And then to do an assessment to find out if there is somebody who is willing to take custody of this boy and then give the boy care.
We'll bring you details from a member of the search team. Also, presidents are humans and make mistakes. That's President Akufo-Addo's explanation for his comment about his government never promising to build a harbour in Cape Coast.
The commitment was never to a harbour. It was a mistake. And I have to apologize to the people of Cape Coast and the Central Region for that mistake. But presidents are human.
We hear from what he has to say about the LGBTQ debate and bring you the latest as he begins as star of the Greater Accra region. Also this afternoon,
we have the free senior high education. And my people are not benefiting because the school is not here. I carry this message to the Minister of Education that come February, I want this school to be open. Yes, February. First batch.
President Akufo-Addo fires back at critics as he insists government has completed several of the E-block projects started under the S.W. John Mahama administration.
I have abandoned the road projects that we came to have. It's difficult.
How about the E-block?
Many of them, I find an opportunity to send you that many of them are being worked on across the country.
We'll hear from him as he responds to the paramount chief of Aplau, who has issued a 4-month ultimatum for operationalization of the abandoned Community Day Senior High School in the area. We have sports.
President of the Confederation of African Football, Dr. Patrice Machope, has called on Vice President of the country, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to ensure that there's investment in football for the right development of talents.
And later in showbiz. You heard there fans of dancehall artist Shatawale demanding his release after a court remanded him in police custody for 1 more week after he pleaded not guilty. I have details of that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Please stay for details. And this is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Let's head straight to the Ashanti region, where police are investigating circumstances surrounding the death of a 3-year-old boy whose body was found in a private vehicle inside the premises of the St. Peter's Cathedral Basilica at Roman Hill in Kumasi. Eyewitnesses say Stephen A. Champong, pupil of the St. Peter's Daycare Center, was found in the Toyota Corolla vehicle, half naked. News of this latest death comes after a string of bizarre murders and deaths in the region. A member of the search team that went in search of the boy late afternoon on Tuesday tells Love News the absence of clothes and footwear when he was found in the car raises eyebrows.
The headmistress called to inform me that she could not find one of her students and she needed help in finding him. I therefore informed the parents of the child and the search began. We looked everywhere we assumed the child may be, but he was nowhere to be found. His mother then informed us that sometimes she takes her child to the market at Kejitia, so we decided to walk towards the market with hopes that he may be seen. Whilst I was giving an update of the search to the headmistress, a woman approached us and said she has just found a child in her car. We immediately rushed towards her car and saw the child in it with blood oozing from some parts of his body. We also realized he was foaming. After examining him for a while, I realized he was dead, but the other search team members did not agree with me, so the headmistress called the police.
And no further, a fool, I'm sad, Davy. Never saw crimes and the most and Sanaja, Ajato from Sassuma, Ajato from Kiski for Sakan. Quite that kind of woman, some boy. Later, I mean, just now, skilled for free police. My people from Batat and be try here. We be my manufacturing.
That's an eyewitness narrating that incident to Love News. Let's get on the line and bring in my colleague Erastus Asaridonko. He's on this beat for us. Erastus, what more have you been able to gather about this latest incident?
So from this eyewitness, who is known as Nana Boachi, he was part of the search team that looked for the boy initially before they found him in the white Corolla, Toyota Corolla with registration number GE7600-20. Now, we do know that the Zongo police have invited the headmistress of the school. They've also invited Madame Teresa Mensah, who is a trader in whose vehicle the child was found. They also tell me that when they found the boy, he was without his shorts, and his footwear was also not, so he was half naked when they found him. It's something that the police have also started investigations and will love to go into. So currently, the security in the cathedral has been beefed up a bit. When we were entering, they were asking for our mission. The security man on duty was also seen driving children away from the car park and all that. But school is in session and everything is going on normally there.
Well, but briefly, I would want to find out if parents of this boy have been speaking, and how long was he gone for before he was found?
Well, so we were told that he had been gone for like 3 hours. When school closed, the mom came to pick him up, and he could not be found. And they searched for a while, about 3 hours, before the woman came in to say that she's found him in her vehicle. And so for about 3 hours, they kept searching for him around Kibitia, Fantinu Town, in and around the Roman Hill, St. Peter's Basilica.
Well, that's my colleague Erastus Asaridonko bringing us the latest from the St. Peter's Cathedral Basilica School at Roman Hill in Kumasi, the death of that 3-year-old boy. Police are yet to give us further details on this, but Erastus Asaridonko is on that beat and will bring us more subsequently. But away from that, presidents are humans and make mistakes. That's President Akufo-Addo's explanation for his comments about his government never promising to build a harbour in Cape Coast. You'll recall earlier this week, during his tour of the Central region, the president spoke on Cape Coast-based radio station Eagle FM, insisting there was never a commitment by his party to build a harbour there while campaigning in the run-up to the 2020 polls.
The commitment was never to a harbour, it was to a landing.
Okay.
It's very, very important. And you look inside the MPP, page 88 of the MPP manifesto for the 2020 election, it was clear. So as far as the harbour, we have to be very clear in our mind. We never committed ourselves. I never said I was going to build a harbour in Cape Coast. I said I was going to build a landing site.
So that comment angered some residents of Cape Coast, but the president says he failed to thoroughly read his party's manifesto before the interview and apologized for the comment. He spoke on Peace FM.
Let me just confess it. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. In looking at the manifesto, and I tried to do that before I go, I saw one page which talked about a landing site. I didn't go further to see. But in any event, even with the mistake, I think still we have to rethink a lot of things. We can't have a harbour in Elmina. We have a harbour in Elmina, which is being developed right now. Obviously, Takoradi, Elmina. Then we have another one projected for Cape Coast before we go further down the road. I think some rethinking has to go on for us to be able to find what is the value for money arrangements that would. But it was a mistake, and I have to apologize to the people of Cape Coast and the Central region for that mistake. But presidents are human.
After all.
They're not Superman. They make mistakes.
Well, in that interview, the president was also asked about his thoughts on the region debate on the LGBTQ. Yes, what he had to say.
It's in the parliament. It's a private member's bill.
Yeah.
We've been fighting for for a long time, the opportunity for private members also to sponsor bills in parliament. I believe this is the first that is being sponsored under this opening that has been given. The party is looking at it, and let's see how the process develops.
Do you feel pressured with the discussions going around?
No, I can't feel pressures. We're talking about public opinion. We're talking about legitimate processes that are being used. What I would hope for is that the debate itself would be civil, and that we would recognize the need for us to be tolerant and of each other, even when there are opposing views. I was, for instance, impressed by the intervention of some very renowned and well-positioned people within the civil society sectors of our country coming forward to express their views on the matter. I think that it will be a credit to Ghanaian democracy if this matter is handled in the correct manner. Well, now I believe a reference will be made by the bill to the Constitutional and Legal Committee, appropriately. That's the committee that looks at the issue of rights and constitutionality of legislation in our parliament. They will work. I hear that over 130 memoranda have been submitted to them. I'm anticipating that they will all be looked at closely before they can come to some consensus. The chairman of the committee has spoken about what are his preoccupations, which I think are very legitimate, to be satisfied about the constitutionality and the legality of what is being proposed.
President Akufo-Addo there speaking earlier on Peace FM. Well, that interview kick-started his tour of the Greater Accra region today, and my colleague Elton Brobe is traveling with him. He joins us on the line with more. So, Elton, what has the president been up to in the Greater Accra region?
So, after the Peace FM interview, the next port of call was the Agbogbloshie market, which until some few weeks ago was a place for onion sellers and other traders. Now, he was there to inspect the reclaimed land site and then inquire what is being done to put the land into proper use. As we speak, we are on our way to Agin Kotoku, where the president is expected to commission the second phase of the Zoom Lion compost plant site. And this plant site, I'm told, has the capacity to recycle over 1,000 tons of waste every day. And the waste that they are recycling, they are putting some into manure for agricultural purposes. The tour today will end at St. Catamato.
We'll get a better connection to my colleague Elton Brobe. It appears we are unable to hear him properly. Apologies for that. We'll bring back Elton Brobe subsequently for more of the president's tour of the Greater Accra region. Let's head to the courts now. What you're hearing there are sounds of fans of dancehall artist Shatta Wale demanding his release as police put him before court today following his hoax shooting incident. So the musician, known in private life as Charles Nee Amamensa Jr., pleaded not guilty for publication of false news and has been remanded for 1 week. Mapitso Sibidi is in court for us. He joins us on the line with the very latest. Mapitso, run us through what happened in court. Hello, Mapitso.
Hi, MFM.
Well, so please run us through what happened in court today, Maps.
All right, so when Shatta Wale came into court, he looked very excited. He was dressed in all white. And now the charges against him is publication of false news, and he pleaded not guilty. And Kojo Yusuf Eric Vanato have been charged with abatement of crime, and they also pleaded not guilty. The next court sitting is on the 28th of October. And the lawyer refused to speak to us, said unless he speaks to his client, then he can give us more information.
That's my colleague Mapitso Sibidi there reporting from the court. Once again, apologies for the poor quality of the telephone line there. But will Shatta Wale's brand suffer or benefit from this incident? We know that he's been remanded for 1 more week by the court, and the hearing will happen again subsequently, as Mapitso has been reporting. But that's the question my colleague Evans Mensah posed to some entertainment industry players on PM Express last night on the Joy News channel. Listen to host of Showbiz A to Z on Joy FM, George Quay, and head of communications of Shatta's rival Stone Boys Benetton Music Group, Kwame Beko.
Well, that's your answer.
So for you, he will benefit off this?
He's already benefiting.
Okay. Now
and he's about to release an album.
Okay.
The man has gotten everybody's attention. It doesn't matter what happens with the police. I see Shatta Wale walking out and releasing his album, and the album is going to go ahead to be successful.
I don't see him losing his Casa Preco deal.
Or
him
in
Phoenix. Yeah, I think his brand has already benefited.
Of this?
Yes.
Interesting.
So, and that's Showbiz A to Z host of Joy FM, George Quay, and then, of course, Kwame Beko, at head of communications of Benetton Music Group on PM Express last night. Today, a while ago, my colleague Mapitso has been reporting. There's more of that on myjoyonline.com. Now, this afternoon, President Akufo-Addo has fired back at critics who claim his government has abandoned the E-Block project initiated under the erstwhile John Mahama administration. Parliament approved a $1.5 billion facility for the completion of critical education infrastructure, including the E-Block project. But during a tour of some educational projects in the Volta region by the minority, the paramount chief of the Aflao traditional area, Togbi Ajonugaga Afenya Fiti, said the construction of the Aflao Community Day School with 26 classrooms and 5 departments, including a science block, has stalled since 2016.
After senior high education, primary to the senior high education, the next degree that my people have to do is to go to border and go and do what Cairo. No school. The only school that we have again is the RC Senior High School that belongs to the Catholic Mission. It's now what, a minor seminary. So this thick population have no place to go. And people sit down in that big hall called Parliament without thinking of a place after the Tema Harbor. The next revenue generation is from Aflao border. It's from Aflao border. And I have to push the former President Mahama for that structure to be what? Constructed over there. I have to be running from here to Accra. Begging. Should we beg for education? No. There's something happening. If we have to beg for education before our what? People can go to school, then I don't know what is called a democracy at all. And look at the structure standing over there. 90% finished. Yes. Now the thieves are having their full days again. Going there, removing everything at will. Now, in the era of the MPP now, we have the free senior high education. And my people are not benefiting because the school is not here. I'm sure by next year, February, school, new entrants will go to school. So your coming here is the redemption to the suffering people of Aflao. It's a redemption, really.
It's not here. So that's the paramount chief of the Aflao traditional area, Togbe Amenya Fiti there. But speaking on Peace FM's Kokoko show this morning, the president said several of the projects are being completed.
No, separate. 6.85% was the rate of physical progress at the time when we came in. Today it's 61%. I mean, there's several such examples, which shows you that the allegation that we have abandoned the road projects that we came to have is difficult.
How about the E-blocks?
Many of them. I think I'll find an opportunity to send you that many of them are being worked on across the country.
Let me just take one, Mr. President. The one in Aflao where the chief himself has complained. Aflao Pacha said E-block no oba on my education minister up to February say bibi. It's
minister ultimatum.
So Inti obisa no then I'll maybe out of frustration maybe okasa.
As much as possible. I've given you these examples to let you see that on the contrary, despite the propaganda, because one of the things that I suspect there's a deficit on our part is our ability to counter the propaganda. The propaganda takes over the reality of so many aspects of our national life. It's a pity, but we will continue.
So that's President Akufo-Addo. But meanwhile, a deputy ranking on the Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, is demanding a detailed breakdown of the use of the $1.5 million approved by Parliament to facilitate the completion of critical educational projects.
I mean, you can imagine. It has now become a farm, abandoned. People are harvesting. You see, they say snakes, bandicoots, grass cutters, and you can see public resources wasted. And students are waiting to go to school. Our schools are overcrowded. Classrooms are overcrowded.
So far, would you say this is the worst you've seen on this trip?
Well, it is only the worst because if you look at the magnitude of work and the physical environment, it's very depressing because tiling has been done, electricals have been fixed, plans were definitely in place to work on fixtures like windows and doors. And it has been abandoned. And we are being told that the last time a contractor showed up here was 3 years ago. And it is very clear, it's evident. Is that the best way to use public resources?
That's a deputy ranking on Parliament's Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, there speaking during their tour of some of these educational sites. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education has been providing a breakdown of the projects completed so far. My colleague Manuel Kranting has a copy of the statement released by the ministry. Manuel, walk us through.
So the statement, which is under the hand of the spokesperson of the ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, starts by saying that to recall that in 2012, the SWAL government announced its intention to build 200 community-day senior high schools in the country to enhance access to secondary education. It is instructive to note that the contracts which were awarded amounted to 124 out of the speculated number of 200. And it was expected that 101 out of the 124 will be funded by the government of Ghana in two phases. Phase 1 of the project consists of 50 schools commenced in March 2014. Phase 2 was made up of 51 and commenced in July 2015. Now, the World Bank funded the construction of additional 23 in 23 districts under the Secondary Education Improvement Project, which commenced in July 2015. This brought the total number of e-blocks to 124. Note that out of the 124, only 29 were completed between 2014 and 2016. Now, it continues to say from 2017 till date, 31 new schools have been constructed, bringing the total number of completed projects to 60 as of September 2020. It is important to note that all the 60 completed schools have been operationalized and currently in use. The remaining 64 projects have been categorized into three groups. Category A includes 21 structures at 60% and above completion. Category B consists of 16 structures which are between 25 and 60% completion, and category C consists of 27 terminated contracts, which includes a project that did not start and those that were at substructure level.
Okay, so thank you very much, Emmanuel Cranton, bringing us details of that Ministry of Education statement issued a while ago on these educational projects. This is the Midday News. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM and over a dozen, 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. Also on myjoyonline.com. We're also live on Facebook. Our top stories: presidents are humans and make mistakes. That's President Akufo-Addo's explanation for his comment about his government never promising to build a harbour in Cape Coast. He's also been firing back at critics as he insists government has completed several of the E-block projects started under the SWAL John Mahama administration. And Shatta Wale has been remanded one more week. When we return, we have sports and more. Please stay.
Vodafone Smart Service here! Yes, Smart Serve from Vodafone allows you to connect to super fast wireless internet anywhere and anytime at your own convenience. Whether home or office or on your, we move with seamless connectivity. Tell you there's even more. Vodafone Smart Serve connect up to 32 devices. What? So now you can connect to the internet on your own terms, increase your productivity, make the most of the things that matter, and do so much more. Visit fvb.vodafone.com.gh or the nearest Vodafone shop today and get a Smart Serve device now. A world of exciting possibilities awaits.
Vodafone. Together we can.
Many thanks for your company. It's time for sports. Muftal, what do we have?
CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe has called on the government of Ghana and the private sector to invest in Ghana football to reach its potential. Speaking during a visit to the Jubilee House, Motsepe said GFA and CAF cannot do it alone.
With the support of football and supporting my brother Kurt and his leadership, the national team of Ghana, the club football, as well as the unique role that football plays amongst our young boys and the young girls in terms of inspiration. There's so much more we can do together. So we'll be engaging with the private sector as well. I mean, the CEO of MTN is a very, very, very close friend of mine. So we do want the private sector to support, because, President, without funding, without finances, in this new environment, there's very little we can do.
And that is CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe.
Thank you very much, Muftal. And the Court of Appeal has this morning agreed with the High Court's decision affirming the NCA's power to demand a reduction in the coverage radii of Joy and Asempa FMs from 100 kilometers to 45 kilometers. In 2018, the NCA issued provisional renewal authorizations to the two stations when they sought to review that authorization. But the NCA demanded a reduction in their coverage areas to 45 kilometers before it would issue them final renewal authorizations. Joy News editor Araba Kumsin joins me in studio with more from that court's decision.
So, Emefa, as you know, the High Court, presided over by Justice Georgina Mensah Dacha, granted an injunction against the threat by the NCA to shut the stations down if they did not comply. And in June 2019, she ruled that the NCA did not lack power to take the action. The stations then filed an appeal against the decision at the Court of Appeal, which refused to grant a fresh injunction. So this morning, the panel of three justices, Henry Kofi, Amagezi, and Ejay Frimpong, gave a unanimous judgment refusing the appeal. Reading the conclusion of the judgment, which he said will be available by tomorrow, Justice Ejay Frimpong said the NCA had power to demand a reduction in the coverage radii of the stations in line with the new policy it was pursuing.
Thank you very much. Joining us editor Araba Kumsin. And Ghana doesn't have a female team for rugby league, one of the world's most followed sport just yet. In Nima, a Zongo suburb in Accra, young Muslim girls are hoping to be part of the first players to make it into a female rugby team to be formed. Join us, Justice Baidu went to meet them with more.
Out! Scrum! Set!
Girls, hijab, and rugby league. Quite an unusual mix. But here in Nima, these players are the poster girls for a future female rugby team in Ghana. This is a Red Earth Park at Kaukudi Junction in one of Ghana's largest Muslim suburbs.
I'm Aida Amino. I was born... Last try!
Aida Amino, 22 years old, lives in the slum and wants to make it into Ghana's first national rugby league team for women. She studied catering in school and is unemployed now.
Rugby is a nice game. For my community, Muslims, when they see you going to training, where are you going? You have to be at home helping mother or doing some house chores, but you are saying you are going to church. What are you going to do? Like, so my friend, just stop and find yourself doing something.
Like her, many girls in inner cities like Nima face a glass ceiling on their way up.
When I tell people that I play rugby league, they'll be like, fresh girl like you are playing rugby. So your body be like, I'm very barry. Turnover. One, touch one.
Justice Baidu, Joy News, Nima.
And it's time for State of Play.
Times are very tough. The system is hard and pockets are dry. Car owners are suffering, passengers are suffering, journalists are suffering.
And issues about fuel price hikes is still fresh on the minds of many. 7% is the increment, and many consumers have started raising concerns about the impact of this particular hike. Today, on your politically incorrect show, State of Play, the heads will come head to head on this hike, and here's what to expect.
I think it's Wendy Shea who sang that song. She's on the show on State of Play on Thursday.
That's very much so. Of course, I mean, she outlines the suffering of the people, but there's a very interesting suffering that is only the poor that are not suffering this one. If you go to the pump, you can see the facial expressions there. You understand that, well, the fuel price is actually kicking in the hikes, and there's already complaint in the hearts of many.
We are going to talk about the killer fuel price hikes with a very interesting sub-theme there. We are saying simply, MPP, do something before you die.
And that's what to expect later on State of Play. It's at 2:30 p.m. on all our social media platforms. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. For myjoyonline.com, Accra is second most expensive city in the world. That's according to a survey. I made a mistake. Akufo-Addo apologizes for Kipko's Harbour comment. Complete abandoned E-block if you're frustrated. Akufo-Addo tells Aflao chief Shatawale remanded for 1 week in police custody. That and more on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apao. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil is up next.
Hello, please, am I speaking to Miss Joanna Kuma?
Yes, please.
My name is Philip and I'm calling from MTN. Someone has just sent you money and we will need you to enter your PIN number so that we can put the money in your account.
Hey,
oh dada, MTN will never ask you for your PIN. Never reveal your PIN to anyone under any circumstance.